Al-Ghazali was obviously in a difficult position. He was born in 1058, and he and his brother Ahmad, who became a very famous Persian Sufi poet, they were orphaned very early, and it's a bit of a blur about who looked after him after that. But certainly he was exposed to Sufism from an early age, something that doesn't always come out in his subsequent career until after his breakdown. When he was in Baghdad, he had the plum job. It was the head of the Nizamiya madrasa, that is to say, a madrasa founded by the great Seljuk vizier Nizam al-Mulk, who was his mentor. He had the plum job. It was as if he were Archbishop of Canterbury and Regius Professor of Divinity at Oxford all in one, and he was only 33 when he got the job. He had large classes, and he was fully occupied with teaching, and with consummate ease he moved from the caliphal court speaking Arabic to the camp court of the Seljuk Sultan, where Persian was the language, his own native language, Ghazali's. So what happened in Baghdad was, and we have the evidence of his own spiritual autobiography in this respect. This book is called Al-Munkith min ad-Dalal, the deliverer from error in the sense of straying from the wrong onto the wrong path. Anyway, this is a very powerful and eloquent book, very short, very popular with Europeans afterwards because it's accessible. It's not like Augustine's Confessions in one sense, that's a very long book. But anyway, the evidence from his spiritual autobiography about his sudden and dramatic departure in 1095 is as follows, that he tells us in graphic description how he was giving a lecture in the Nizamiya Madrasa and he found that he couldn't speak. In fact, he says, God put a lock on my tongue. And thereafter he couldn't eat or drink, and he became very ill, and people worried about his health. And he would try to break away from all the attachments, the political power he had, the prestige and so on. And then he would put one foot forward and 1 foot back, as he puts it, and hesitate again. In the end, he made a sudden and secret departure from Baghdad, saying, well, basically, that he was plagued by religious doubt. What he needed was certainty in religion, and that he thought he would find in the Sufi path. Now, after he left Baghdad, he went straight and did a pilgrimage, and then he spent several years, Wanderjahre, as the Germans would say, wandering around, meditating, dressed as a Sufi, and he went to the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, and also he spent 2 years, he says, in the Umayyad Mosque in Damascus, in the minaret, meditating. And thereafter, and we can assume it was around 5 years after that, say 1100, he was back home again in eastern Persia, and there he stayed, and that is another story.